Coming up tonight on Primetime Local News, we have a preview of tomorrow's Parade of Lights event in the border city, and more on a word search book being released featuring Lloydminster, plus our weekly edition of Beyond the Classroom.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
The 10th annual Parade of Lights will take place in Lloydminster tomorrow. The parade will feature more than 50 floats from people and businesses all over the community. Parade of Lights President Ryan LeBlanc says that the unique array of lights and floats make braving the cold weather worth it.
So this is our 10th year, and every year it's people come up with some pretty cool ideas, and we're really looking forward to tomorrow night, especially even with the brisk cold that they're forecasting. But it's gonna be a fun night.
A big part of the Parade of Lights is that the money raised goes towards supporting the Lloydminster Rescue Squad, the Lloyd Region Health Foundation, and the Lloyd X Association. They are also collecting toy donations for the Lloydminster Sexual Assault Services.
We've raised a lot of money for these organizations and put some much needed equipment in our hospital, and it's good to see the community come out and enjoy the night. Kind of kicks off the Christmas season for some, and the other thing too is that when people come to our community, they see what kind of community spirit Lloydminster has, and it's just makes it great to call home.
The Parade of Lights will take place from 7 to 10 p.m. tomorrow and will start at 50th Ave and 56th Street and continue down until 54th Street and 48th Ave. Christmas is coming up next week, and schools in the border city are doing all they can to get into the holiday spirit. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we see St. Joseph Elementary have a Christmas dinner to celebrate the season. The SCC, or the School Community Council, is a collective group of parents who aspire to give back to their children, and in a broader sense, the community as a whole. A Christmas feast was held, showing the children that giving is at the heart of Christmas.
So parents have all pitched in, with whether it be for money to buy turkeys, corn, buns, everything is donated by our parents. And then we have parents who come, so Monday, Tuesday, they were cooking turkeys and preparing for it. They peeled 130 pounds worth of potatoes yesterday.
The SCC has been together for years now in the Catholic School Division, constantly striving for fundraising opportunities and to support these students at the school.
We've just got a great group of parent volunteers, and we just put on different events throughout the school. We do dances, monthly hot lunches. We're fundraising right now for a new playground for the school. Ours is 42 years old and needs a little update. So there's lots of little things that we work on, but just kind of trying to make fun memories for the kids while they're here.
Hosting these Christmas lunches is just one of the things the School Community Council accomplishes. Also currently fundraising for a new school playground.
Going above and beyond today with, decorations for the tables. We have a photo booth behind us, things like that, just to make it extra special for the kids today. So everybody's dressed up in their best attire and in their formal attire, and they're ready to sit down together with good fellowship and be able to sit and visit as a school.
And that's all for this week's edition of Beyond the Classroom.
This is your classroom. Hands-on learning like you've never seen.
If you are still looking for some stocking stuffers for Christmas, we have an idea for you. Stacy Comer found out more about a man who has used information from a couple of provinces to create some fun puzzle books.
Well, if you're still looking for a stocking stuffer at this time of year, I have a really good idea for you. Joining me right now is Nick Cranford. Nick, you are in Newfoundland and Labrador, is that correct?
Yes.
So let's talk about this gift that I'm suggesting for a stocking stuffer. It's a word search book, but it's very unique. And you've done a couple now, but let's talk about the one that's specific to Alberta. Tell me a little bit about it and show me what the cover looks like.
Basically, yeah. So guys, I made a word search book that is special just for you. It's I've called it the Word Search of Alberta.
And what can you find in here? Like what type of words? How did you just go through the province and figure out, what people of Alberta like to talk about? Is there town names? Or give us a hint of what some of the words are in there.
Oh, it's got everything you can think of. It's basically a deep dive into the place that you're proud to call home. It's got everything you can think of. It's got the landmarks, your many communities, counties, wildlife, mountains, the parks like Jasper, Banff, the Badlands. It's got your favorite sports teams, Oilers versus Flames. It's also got, famous people, local businesses, so like restaurants, hotels, um, everything you think of. Lots of famous things, must sees, must do's. There's just so much. It's everything you can think of Alberta, right?
Well, it's a really cool idea, and this isn't the first one you've done. You also did one for Newfoundland and Labrador, is that correct?
That is the first one that I did. I've got it right here.
So that one is
Yeah.
available as well?
Yes, you can grab it on Amazon. It's in the stores across here in my home here in Newfoundland, and I also made a Nova Scotia one as well. So yeah,
Excellent.
I'm basically taking province by province, right?
So what inspired you to do this, Nick?
Well, my great nan, her name was Rita. She was from a small town called New Harbor. Um, she lived to be in her 90s. And in the last few years of her life, I took care of her. I made sure she was well looked after. Took her out on many dinner dates. There was a little restaurant we used to go to all the time called Brown's, nice family spot. So I looked after her, brought her with family. And one thing I noticed about her was she would do word search books all the time. She'd have boatloads of them, like next to her bed or wherever she was waiting in the doctor's office, on the road, on the couch, everywhere. Like it's that one constant thing that's always been with her, no matter what. And I thought to myself, because I work with me and my family. I'm in a book publishing business, so I thought to
Mhm.
myself, why not make one for Newfoundland, because I noticed that there wasn't one. So I made it, and it just went like gangbusters here in Newfoundland. So I mean, I was selling out multiple stores all the time. I mean, people were just grabbing boatloads of them, and it just really took off. So I thought to myself, why not just take it to the other provinces? So I put it out in Nova Scotia. That one's doing really well as
Mhm.
well. And now I just took the plunge with Alberta, and yeah, it's starting to get received pretty well.
And so will you be doing all of the provinces then? Is that your goal?
Absolutely, 100%. I'm on my way there now.
So Nick, this is a super cool idea. And like I said, as a stocking stuffer, great idea. Where can people purchase it if they want to get it for kind of a last minute gift? Because we know through Canada Post, there might be some issues still, even though they're back to work, it might take a while to deliver, but there are other ways to get it.
Yeah, for now you can pick up the Alberta word search. You can pick it up on Amazon. They do use different couriers, so you should still be able to get it. Even if you don't get it Christmas, but hopefully like a day or two after, you'll get
Right.
it in relative short order. I am hoping to get it in stores very soon. I'm working on that, but for now, if you absolutely want it right now, grab it on my Amazon page there. It's the perfect gift.
Awesome. Well, Nick, I really appreciate speaking with you today. Thank you so much. This is such a cool idea. I'm going to order mine right away as well. And thank you again, and happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you, Stacy, and happy holidays to everyone in Alberta. I hope I've made you proud.
It has been quite the snowy and just overall unpleasant day in the border city today.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's the right word to use here for this wintry Wednesday. We've been pounded with snow pretty much all day. Kind of slowed up a little bit there at noon, but then it's been pretty much at least minus 20 all day today.
Yep.
So yeah. Wasn't fun. My car started though, thank goodness.
Same,
So
yeah.
we'll be, yeah, that's the good thing about today. But yeah, and I think it's going to warm up a little bit as we get into the weekend and get a little bit closer to Christmas. I think this is just the real cold day, but these minus teen temperatures are probably going to be staying until the new year here. And so we're just, again, it's not exactly preferable, but it's December. Honestly, how long we pushed it off in November was a miracle, so I'm okay with it. High for today was a -18, but of course with wind chill it certainly didn't feel like it. Low was -22. The usual normals are a high of -16, -15. We've got a lot of moisture though already here, 15.5 millimeters compared to the usual average of 19. So farmers will definitely be appreciating that to help replenish their soil reserves, as well as fill up those dugouts. As you can see in the current conditions right now, we're at -21. With wind chill, it feels like -33. Excellent with that east 24-kilometer wind hitting us right now. Taking a look elsewhere, North Battleford is very similar, -21. They've got an east wind hitting them, getting them all the way down to feeling like it's -31. Cold Lake is similar as well, -20. With the wind chill, it'll get down. It feels like -30. Taking a look at current temperatures across the region, it's pretty much a flurry there of -20s and 21s. -21 in Lloydminster, as mentioned, Marwayne, Bonnyville, all at that temperature range. Cold Lake at -20 as mentioned, Vermilion similar, as well as St. Paul, Lac La Biche, and Vegreville. And we see -19 in Provost and Edmonton, with -22 in Wainwright. On the Saskatchewan side, really chilly up north at Isle La Crosse, -26. -22 for Green Lake and St. Walburg, and then as well as Maidstone, -20 in North Battleford. Macklin's at -18, and then Meadow Lake a little chillier at -23. Taking a look at tonight's forecast, we'll start in North Battleford. They're going to have a low of -24 with some snow at times this evening. That'll accumulate to about 1 to 3 centimeters. And otherwise, it will be cloudy, windy, and cold with blowing and drifting snow. There's supposedly supposed to be about 3 to 6 centimeters, and so 80% chance of that coming down. Cold Lake is a little bit better looking, low of -22, cloudy and cold with a little snow at times. It's not going to have as much accumulation, but there should be about 1 to 2 centimeters of total snowfall from today. And then here in the border city, a low of -23, snow at times this evening. It will accumulate an additional 1 to 3 centimeters. Otherwise, it will be cloudy and windy and cold with blowing and drifting snow. So lots of fun, 80% very similar to our friends out in North Battleford. Now taking a look at our 3-day forecast. As I said, happier days coming along here. A -16 for tomorrow with a low of -23, so it will be similar to today. Mostly cloudy, and it will be very cold once again. But on Friday, will be a bit of a morning snow there. -14 though for your high, a low of -17, 55% chance of that. A little bit of snow, and then it will be not as cold on Saturday. A high of -8 and a low of -12. So definitely some brighter days coming forward. Hopefully you can enjoy your time with your family on this weekend just before Christmas. But that will do it for our first look at the weather forecast. I'll have an extended look at the weather coming up later on in the show, but for now we'll have some more news headlines.
A coding camp will be taking place at the end of December and beginning of January, where students will learn how to make their own video games. Our Jackson Fontaine talked to the organizer of the camp for more information.
I'm joined here today with Cornelius Cron, who will be the organizer of the Holiday Hackers Coding Camp. Cornelius, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So why don't you give people a little bit of information on this Holiday Hackers Coding Camp you're going to be hosting?
So Holiday Hackers Coding Camp is a 2-day camp for grade 5 through 7 students, where kids are going to learn to create their own video games using a program called Scratch. So if you have any students who might be interested in that, I'd love to have them join me. Scratch is a beginner-friendly coding platform, and this camp is going to be fun, educational, and it's going to turn screen time into some valuable skills.
And Cornelius, can you give me an explanation on just how these video games are going to be made?
So what we're going to do is we're going to use block coding. So imagine Lego, combining Lego together to build something. And so coding is just programming. Coding is a list of instructions for a computer to follow. And so what we do is we grab these different blocks that make, whether it makes a character move, whether it makes a character respond to being clicked on. So what we're going to do is we're going to combine those in a list, and in the end we're going to have a video game, something like a whack-a-mole game where you could click on the snowman, and when he appears, and you gain points by clicking on the snowman and not clicking on the rabbit that goes by, something like that. Some simple games, but a really good background and foundation in coding.
Yeah, so that was kind of my next question moving forward. What kind of video games are going to be made? Are we kind of looking at like an NHL 25 type game, or more like a Pac-Man type game?
We're looking at Pac-Man. We might look at like something like Pong. It's going to be a basic video game that's going to give us the foundation and the understanding of how video games work in order to maybe one day progress into the profession of coding things like those NHL games.
So I'm assuming this is all going to be done digitally. So will students need to bring their own computers?
So if a student has their own Chromebook, they're more than welcome to bring it. And if they don't, I do have a little stockpile of Chromebooks that students can borrow for the 2 days of the camp.
What days are these camps going to be taking place?
You bet. So I'm offering two two-day sessions. So the first session is going to be on December 30th or December 31st. Sorry, December 30th and December 31st. And the second session is going to be on January 2nd and 3rd. So they are going to run from about 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock each day for 2 days. So if somebody is interested in registering their child, they can choose whether it's the first session or the second session.
What are each sessions going to be about?
Well, I'm going to assume that that students, when they show up, they have a little bit of computer skills, but they probably don't have any Scratch skills. So what I'll do is I will introduce coding and block coding to them, and a little bit of Scratch on the first day. We'll get into creating some very basic games right away, and then by the end, probably in the afternoon on the second day, they'll have an opportunity to think about the game that they want to create, and they can start creating that game with a little bit of assistance, but based on the skills that were taught on the first day and on the second day.
Okay, so Cornelius, what made you want to start a camp like this?
So I am an educator by profession, so I teach, and I'm also interested in technology. And so I enjoy working with kids, and I enjoy technology, and I have some skills with coding, and so I want to pass that on to kids. I think coding is a fantastic skill for students to have. It's not just about the computer time, it's also about problem solving and perseverance and all of those non-tangible skills that you get when you are learning how to code.
How much money is each session going to cost, and where is this camp going to be taking place?
I'm asking for $150 for the registration, and that will pay for both days of the day camp. And so it takes place at College Park School in the library. I do need people to register ahead of time, and they can do that by checking out my bit.ly, so bit.ly/HH Coding Camp. And they can also just send me an email as well if they'd like at cornteaches, one word, cornteaches@gmail.com, and I can forward the link. Information is also available on Facebook in the events pages.
And finally, for anyone looking to find more information on this camp, can they just go to the websites you just named?
You bet. You can hit those names. You can send me an email, ask me the questions that you might have, and I will answer them as quickly as I can.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this today, and hopefully the camp goes well.
Looking forward to it.
Now let's take a look at your closing market numbers for today.
Today's oil prices are brought to you by First General Services.
It's a great time in the cattle business as prices are at some of the highest in history. Our Thomas Weilman finds out if the prices will stay strong heading into 2025.
Today I'm joined by Shannon Eaton of Eaton Livestock. He's here today to talk to us about the cattle prices and how they have continued to soar here in 2024. And so thank you so much for joining me today, Shannon.
Problem, Thomas.
And so, Shannon, we've seen cattle prices continue to rise since COVID. What have you been seeing at the market that has been providing that continuous rise in prices at the cattle market?
And we got into end of August and into the first part of September, and the pre-bought calves looked like they were going to be way above the market as the market did slide. And from mid-September on, we just went on an incline like we've probably never ever seen through the calf market. It just continued to get higher and higher and higher. And I think today we're seeing cattle that are trading like $100 a hundred higher than they did in September. It's just been quite a ride. Well, I think in the past, I've been in the business for years. As the calf run has gone on, we always hear from the feedlots that, oh, we're getting close to full, or we are full, we don't have pen space. I never heard that term once. In fact, I heard, all we've heard is that, guys are just, they've got so much pen space, and, there's no backlog of fat cattle. It just, it's just been a fight to get cattle, and it looks like going into the new year with the heifer retention that we've seen and heifer calves that are being bought with the idea they're going to backgrounders to be bred. I just foresee 2025 being extremely high market all the way through, and I'm not saying the cattle are going to get higher, but I sure don't see in the near future us having any issues unless the threat from Donald Trump of the tariff. That would be, the only hiccup that I could see going forward.
And you mentioned those 25% tariffs. How much would a tariff of that magnitude affect the Canadian cattle market?
As far as Canada, we have lots of space, I think, to feed these cattle, with the numbers being down so much. But where the problem I foresee, if there is a tariff, is that the beef does have to flow to the United States. And if we impose a 25% tariff, well, that simple math, a $4,000 steer is instantly $3,000. Well, if we have to take $1,000 off of the feeder cattle, or if we have to take $1,000 a head, just using that as a figure, which would be very close, boy, we'd be in for a disaster. And if that tariff is imposed, it's going to be instant, because with the capabilities of Donald Trump, who knows? I mean, it could be a day, it could be a year. We don't know. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I think our government will step in and make sure that these tariffs don't happen. I mean, there already has been some meetings with our government and theirs, but boy, oh boy, if it does hit, we could be in for an instant licking. But like I said, my personal opinion, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, we could definitely have some trouble.
And finally, with how high the prices are, how much does that help all sectors of the Canadian cattle market, and how is the outlook looking for 2025?
The purebred end of it, well, the bull supply, do we see record high bull prices on average? I really believe we do. We're getting 25 to 30% more for our calves than we ever expected. So I would see that will be passed on. There's nothing more important in the cattle industry than keeping the quality up. And I think, it's going to be good for everybody. The cow-calf guy has done extremely well this year, probably selling their calves for $400 to $500 a calf more than they ever expected when that calf was born. And I think we'll see, bull prices up $2,000 to $3,000 a bull, which will be great for the seed stock producers. And I see the bread market just continuing to be extremely strong. I think we will see bred heifers into the new year at $5,000 to $6,000 a head, and they should be worth that. I mean, they should be worth double what a good steer calf is worth, and that will be in that $5,000 to $6,000 range, and it'll be good for everybody. Like I had mentioned earlier, the heifer retention and the heifers that have been sold that are going to backgrounders with the idea of being sold as replacements. We could see $4,000 replacement heifers going forward as the new norm. And if we do, it's just great for everybody.
Thank you so much for all the information, Shannon, and we look forward to another great year for cattle prices in 2025.
The stress of going through divorce and separation is tough enough, but sometimes bankruptcy is also a part of the equation. Stacey Comer has more.
It's that time of the week when Stephanie Dobson joins us. Stephanie is a lawyer, mediator, and online educator with Hankin Divorce Law and Mediation offices in Edmonton and Lloydminster. Stephanie, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks again, Stacey, as always.
Well, today we're going to be talking about bankruptcy and how it affects people going through the separation and divorce process. So, first of all, when it comes to spousal support, obviously that is going to be a little bit of a tougher issue if someone is going through bankruptcy. So, how does that all work?
So spousal support and child support actually work the same as long as there's a written agreement or a court order that solidifies the amount that's required to be that's owing by the person who's declaring bankruptcy. It does survive the bankruptcy. So it's called a non-dischargeable debt. So that means that if you're going through bankruptcy, the bankrupt person is still legally obligated to make those support payments. The Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act is the federal legislation that we look at to give us some direction on this, and it treats spousal support and child support payments like what's called a secured debt, so kind of like a mortgage.
And now, if there happens to be arrears, Stephanie, how does that all work?
So arrears of support, so child support and spousal support, is also known as back pay. So if there's overdue support payments at the time of the bankruptcy, those amounts are also considered non-dischargeable. So while the individual may receive relief from other debts, they must still make arrangements to pay those outstanding child support and spousal support costs.
And how does bankruptcy affect costs awards?
So let's talk about what is a cost award. So a cost award is a legal expense that may be ordered by a court to be paid by one party to the other. So at the end of a court case, the court can order what's called costs to one of the parties. So if you happen to have a costs award against you and you're going through bankruptcy, if the costs award relates to spousal support or child support, then it does survive the bankruptcy claim. If the costs award relates to property division, then the award will get discharged. So then what happens if the costs award relates partially to property division and partially to support? Then, of course, it gets more complicated, as these things always do, and the parties either need to agree or have a court order how much relates to which topic, and then the spousal and child support portion will remain and the property division portion will get discharged.
Okay, and let's specifically talk about property division. How does bankruptcy affect that?
So during a separation or divorce, couples typically, of course, divide up their assets and debts. If one spouse files for bankruptcy before that property division is finalized, it may affect how those debts are dealt with and divided. So the bankruptcy may protect certain assets from creditors, but it doesn't exempt assets acquired by the couple during marriage. So the courts will take the bankruptcy into account when determining a fair distribution of the property. If one spouse does declare bankruptcy, it does not automatically absolve the other of responsibility of shared debt. So if you have a joint line of credit or a joint credit card, then the non-bankrupt spouse may actually have some responsibility for those debts.
Now, what should a person do if their former spouse declares bankruptcy?
So I always say the first thing to do is to get professional advice. So typically you would want to go and talk to your lawyer about the fact that there's a bankruptcy going on or a potential for a bankruptcy to happen. And definitely the non-bankrupt spouse should contact the trustee handling the bankruptcy to ensure that that trustee does know about the child support, spousal support, or even the costs awards. And then they can properly direct you from there.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you so much for this, and I very much appreciate speaking with you. This will be our last feature for the year, and we'll be back again in
Yeah.
January. So thank you so much for joining me throughout this year, and I wish you and your family and your staff a happy holidays.
Yeah, thanks, and you too, Stacey. And I know this bankruptcy topic is a difficult one to do at any time of the year, but of course, close to the holidays, it's a even more difficult topic. So thanks for indulging me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thanks, Stacey.
It's now time to take a look at your adorable animals in our pet pics of the day.
We want to see your pets. Send photos of your pet and their name to have them featured on Pet of the Day.
Alberta author Trevor W. Harrison has written a book about his travels in the 70s and 80s. Stacey Comer has more on why he decided to write about his adventures.
I have a special guest joining me today on Primetime Local News. Trevor W. Harrison is here. Trevor is an author. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Very glad to be here, Stacey.
Well, we're going to talk about your book, and it looks super, super interesting to me because it's basically essays of your travels during the 70s and 80s, which was a wild time for some of us. So tell me a little bit about the book and why you decided to do these essays.
Yeah, years ago when I was in my teens and early 20s, I actually thought maybe I'd end up being a journalist. And so when I was traveling around doing different things or working at different jobs, I actually kept pretty good notes at the time. And I'm now retired from my previous job as a professor at the University of Lethbridge, but I kind of returned to some of that early writing, poetry, short stories, and whatever. And as I was going through some old notes, I thought, oh, some of this stuff is actually to me kind of interesting, and maybe to someone else. The notes were actually pretty complete. So in terms of putting together stories around different things I'd been involved with, traveling places, jobs that I had, which in your early 20s are always interesting and very precarious. Anyway, I thought there's maybe a book here. And so I put it together over the last year and a half. And Ed Willett at Endless Skies Press thought, yes, this seems interesting to me too. So we came together on this deal.
And now, did you travel all over the world, Trevor?
I did travel a lot throughout the Middle East. Actually, I have another book coming out in the spring with Athabasca University Press about a trip through Afghanistan, Iran, India, and everything in the late 70s. Some of the stories in this book, actually, a couple of them are from that trip. But I made some other trips as well to different places, and so some of those are reflected in the book, as well as some trips just across North America, quite often hitchhiking, which was kind of a thing to do back in the 70s.
Now, I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but are these stories, is it funny stories? Is it scary? Some, precarious situations or kind of a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. A lot of the stories are actually, I think, have a kind of a humorous tinge to them. I have to say that when I was young, I really liked reading Stephen Leacock. So if there's a tinge of that in here, I suspect, could be the case. But some of them are funny, but some of them I think are also quite honest and a bit poignant too. Some stories about traveling some places and some really difficult things that I saw happening in different places. So bit of a mixed bag.
Now, what is the name of the book, Trevor?
It is Tales This Side of the Elysian Fields, which is just to give a brief note to people, the Elysian Fields is actually where warriors used to go. It's kind of like heaven after you die. Well, I haven't died yet. So that's why the stories are tales from this side of the Elysian Fields.
Well, now that you're getting older, Trevor, is there an opportunity maybe to do more travel and write another book on travel at the age you are now as compared to in your youth?
That's an interesting question because actually I just finished 3 weeks in November traveling through Southeast Asia, a place I had not traveled to before. And I was backpacking again and with my son. And I have to say, it felt a bit like I was 25 again, dodging traffic and broken sidewalks. Anyway, it was a wonderful experience, and I do expect I'm going to be continuing to do some more writing. As I said, I've gone back to writing poetry, some short stories, and maybe some travelogue things again. So, readers, if they buy this one, can look forward to perhaps a sequel.
Well, it sounds like you've led quite an interesting life, Trevor, and I'm glad that you can share that with all of us and we can experience it because not everybody gets to travel, especially to some of those exotic locales. So it's always interesting to see somebody else's take on that situation. So if we're looking for more information, Trevor, on yourself or at any of the books, what's the best place to find that all?
Yeah, in Lethbridge, the book is being sold at Analog Books, but you can also get it on Amazon. I know actually a number of people have already ordered from there, and I think some other small bookstores in Calgary, Edmonton, probably also Winnipeg, Regina, are also carrying it. So I would say phone ahead, and if they don't have it, ask them to bring it in.
All right. Well, Trevor, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much. And we look
Thank
forward
you.
to hearing more from you and seeing what your travels take you this time. So thanks so much again and happy holidays to you.
Same to you. Take care. Bye now.
Coming up after the break, our Thomas Wildman will have another look at our evening weather forecast.
All right, we're going to take a quick look here at our weather forecast, and I want to spin over to the Alberta side here. As you can see, there's a big system moving through. It's already kind of come through our area here, and we're going to be seeing it later on tonight go down south for our friends down in Regina and Brandon and Saskatoon. And so nothing major coming up over the horizon, but again, as you can see just behind me, lots of big stuff coming by in the next 24 hours. Taking a look at the current temperatures across the central region, Lloydminster at -21, Cold Lake at -19. We see -21 for Athabasca and then -19 for Edmonton and Red Deer. A little warmer further west, Edson's at -16 as well as Rocky Mountain House, and then -12 for Jasper. On the Saskatchewan side, quite a bit cooler, -23 for Meadow Lake, Prince Albert, and Melfort, and then -20 for North Battleford and Saskatoon. Down south, it's a little warmer, except in Yorkton, -23 for them, but then we're seeing as high as -14 for Swift Current, and then -18 for Kindersley and Estevan there. On the Alberta side, nice and warm in Banff, so I guess those people are enjoying the winter weather right now. 0 degrees, but then elsewhere, a little warmer, Medicine Hat at -19, and then Coronation quite a bit closer to us at -19 today. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast here in the border city, we're going to be starting out in the morning at -22. It will be cloudy. That cloud will continue out throughout most of the day. -17 at noon, getting a little bit warmer there. Then in the evening, it will be down to -21 again, mostly cloudy. And then at midnight, stay about the same at -21 there. Taking a look at North Battleford, they're going to have plenty of sunshine, but it's going to be very cold and a high of -17. And Cold Lake's going to be similar, a high of -16, a morning flurry, but otherwise will be not as cold with some clouds yielding to sun, 42% chance of seeing that snow. Looking elsewhere, we're going to be seeing similar temperatures as highs of -18 with lows of with a little bit warmer at -16 for Meadow Lake and Paradise Hill. Not looking like there's going to be much snow elsewhere there. And then further away, it's a little bit warmer for Calgary at -9. But mostly very similar temperatures in Wainwright and Murnum as well. And then looking at the 7-day forecast, those nicer temperatures are going to continue on past the weekend, though there are going to be low clouds throughout, but getting all the way up to 0 degrees on Tuesday and Wednesday is certainly something to look forward to as we get into Christmas.
Very, very nice temperatures to be looking at as we have just gotten, we're at the halfway point of this week and it has been dreadful. So to see those temperatures on the horizon is a great sight to see.
Indeed.
And that is all the time we have today for Primetime Local News. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night.